Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight, the latest on the country's COVID-19 vaccination program. Public health care workers call in sick for the fourth day. The Bahamas government says it stands ready to assist Haiti following a catastrophic earthquake. And later, a local historian traces the origin of Junkanoo. Welcome to our News Weekend, and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgie O'Bain, topping news tonight. The National COVID-19 Vaccine Committee hosting a press conference this evening to update the country on the future of vaccine arrivals and distribution. Chairman of the National COVID-19 Vaccine Committee, Dr. Mercelin Dalregis, stressing the importance of vaccinations during this afternoon's vaccine update. In a slide presentation, Dalregis showing COVID hospitalizations between March 14th and July 31st. 411 people were admitted, 400 were unvaccinated, 11 partly vaccinated, and none were fully vaccinated. During that period, there were 53 recorded COVID deaths, 52 were unvaccinated, and 1 was partially vaccinated. Infectious disease expert Dr. Nakia Forbes confirming that to date, no fully vaccinated persons have died from COVID-19. Extra steps are being taken to determine if additional variants are in country.
We are now experiencing a significant increase in new cases, in the number of hospitalizations and deaths from COVID-19 at a time where there is increased travel to and from the Bahamas. Genomic surveillance has identified samples with a predominance of the Alpha variant co-circulating with others in the Bahamas. We are now awaiting the results from 100 samples taken in July and August and sent this weekend to the Fiocruz Research Laboratory in Brazil.
The vaccination program is expected to be ramped up in the coming weeks. The goal is to vaccinate over 60,000 Bahamians in the next 6 weeks.
Today, I'm pleased to report that the Bahamas has been notified that in this coming week, it will receive 34,400 doses of the single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine. With our current supplies and the vaccines that are in the pipeline, we now have an opportunity to significantly accelerate our vaccination program.
An assessment of the administration of the Pfizer vaccine will begin on a selected group of adults and children over the age of 12 on Monday, while the public will be able to get the Pfizer vaccine as of Thursday. The Pfizer rollout for Grand Bahama is scheduled for August 23rd.
On Thursday, the 19th of August, we will begin administering the Pfizer vaccine to the general public at the Kendall G.L. Isaacs Gymnasium. The Kendall Isaacs Gym Vaccination Center will be the only site administering the Pfizer vaccine on Thursday and Friday this week. The public may begin booking appointments tomorrow, Monday, August the 16th, starting at 3 p.m.
There is a 21 to 28-day period in between the two jabs. If you've already started the vaccination process with the AstraZeneca vaccine but wish to switch to the Pfizer vaccine, that is also being accommodated. Dalregis encouraging parents to make vaccine appointments for children between the ages of 12 and 17, as she stressed that school students will require protection as the country prepares to reopen schools for the fall semester.
School children need to be protected to facilitate safe in-person learning. Previously, only teachers and school staff were eligible to receive the vaccine. With the arrival of the Pfizer vaccine, which has been approved for use in children 12 to 17, we now have the opportunity to vaccinate some school-age children.
Public healthcare workers aren't backing down as the Public Hospitals Authority confirmed that a sickout impacting services on New Providence and Grand Bahama entered day 4. The PHA said in a statement today that affected institutions have implemented measures to mitigate the effects of staff shortages where possible. However, the public should expect delays in accessing some services at these institutions. The authority is recommending, where possible, the public access services at a later date. According to the PHA, Princess Margaret Hospital has experienced fluctuations in the reporting in of clinical staff. Laboratory services and radiology department have reported staff shortages resulting in delays in services. Emergency CT scans are being referred to Oak Tree Medical Center. Morgue services are suspended until further notice. Officials said efforts are being made to expedite the release of remains. Housekeeping shortages are being addressed by the contracted private housekeeping company. Well, officials of Disney Cruise Line announcing that pending approvals, they are looking to begin construction at Lighthouse Point by the end of the year, and looking for opening the first quarter of 2024. The environmental impact assessment has been a bone of contention for local environmentalists. However, according to Disney's president of communication, Kim Prunty, the project is now moving into the environmental management planning stage.
We have purchased the site, which was privately owned for decades. We have completed our heads of agreement with the government, and we are working through the environmental clearance process. So the certificate of environmental clearance process has two parts. The first is the environmental impact assessment, and the second is the environmental management plan. So at this point, we have submitted our environmental impact assessment. We have held public consultation and produced a public consultation report.
According to Prunty, the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection has given Disney the go-ahead to move to the environmental management planning stage as no additional work is needed on the EIA. Disney intends to develop less than 20% of the property and will now be using 90% renewable energy as opposed to the 30% that was previously proposed in the heads of agreement.
The gist of the report is that construction and operation is not expected to result in any loss of marine or terrestrial biodiversity at the species level. The two key components of that are marine and terrestrial. So we use the globally recognized Atlantic and Gulf Rapid Reef Assessment. And based on that, we found that coral reefs do not appear within the footprint of the marine facilities, including both the pier and the marina. We also looked at 75-foot buffers on both sides, and estimating on the high side, it looks like we could impact just over one-tenth of an acre of individual corals, which we will mitigate, moving many of them before we begin construction.
The project is expected to pump $800 million into the Bahamian economy and a $355 million increase in government revenues.
We're going to create at least 120 construction jobs with an overall ratio of 80% Bahamian over the life of the project. At least 150 operations jobs, and that includes all roles that will be operating the island, including management roles, leadership roles, opportunities for training and development. We also, I showed you the Art and Cultural Center, will have space for Bahamian vendors on the property for the sale of high quality, authentic Bahamian goods. We will give priority to Bahamian owners and operators of port adventures while the ship is in port.
Disney doubled down that there are no plans to exclude Bahamians from accessing Lighthouse Point.
We plan to purchase Bahamian agricultural and seafood products. We have numerous environmental protection measures, which I'll get into, and then full access to the site for Bahamian citizens and residents of the Bahamas for non-commercial purposes.
The Bahamas government joining the Caribbean community in expressing sadness at the loss of life and significant damage following the 7.2 magnitude earthquake that struck Haiti on Saturday. A message of condolence was sent to the charge d'affaires at the Embassy of Haiti. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement, the Bahamas stands ready with the Caribbean community to render whatever assistance possible to its sister member of CARICOM. According to reports, over 700 people lost their lives, while hundreds of others have been injured. Many remain missing. The diplomatic staff of the Bahamas Embassy were not in Haiti at the time of the earthquake. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that it has contacted the local staff of the embassy, and they are all reported to be well. Officials said contact has been made as well to the Bahamians who are living in Haiti, and they are all said to be fine. Well, former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands says for the country to get out of the third wave of COVID-19 infections, Bahamians must take more responsibility. In recent days, the country has averaged more than 100 cases a day. Sands said to avoid the healthcare collapse being experienced in other countries around the world, Bahamians will have to take some certain steps.
I don't think that it is possible to stress this enough, that every single one of us need to look in the mirror and define what it is that we are doing, that we need to be doing differently to change what's happening in the Bahamas. We've seen what happened in India. We saw what happened in Italy. We saw what happened in New York. We don't need the same thing to happen in the Bahamas. Jamaica right now finds itself no beds in the inn as well. There are hospitals that are running at 120, 130, 140% capacity. People in the hallways, people in offices that were intended for clerical use. We are not far from that.
Over 100 cases remain in hospital, with several in the intensive care unit. And with more COVID-related deaths being reported, Sands has said that adhering to safety protocols will go a long way.
We're in the midst of hurricane season. We got a storm coming this week. Okay? Our temporary facilities are tents. We're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with those, how we're going to provide protection to ensure the integrity. Now, luckily, it is not anticipated that this is going to be a big blow. But imagine if it were a big blow. And so the partnership between the public, the government, the healthcare sector needs to be holistic so that everybody understands why your personal behavior impacts what's happening in the emergency room.
Well, still to come on Our News Weekend, the former health minister criticizes the pandemic and how Bahamians are responding to it. We have that and much more when Our News Weekend returns.
The Great True True Bahamian Treasure Hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch Our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow Our TV Originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch Our News Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week because the contest runs all summer long. Go to Our TV Originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
You're watching Our News Weekend. Thanks for staying with us. Well, former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands weighing in on the COVID-19 pandemic while appearing on RTV's On the Record, stating that the pandemic has become politicized and full of conspiracy theories.
A recent review by the New York Times looking at data from Johns Hopkins and other places shows that at the current 7-day average, the Bahamas finds itself having a death rate ranking 11 out of 195 countries in the world, and a case incidence rate of 22nd out of 195 countries. The Bahamas, like every other country in the Caribbean, has to deal with the reality of COVID-19 being a politicized disease and a social media fiasco.
On Friday, health officials confirmed 158 new COVID-19 cases. Of that number, 119 are on New Providence. There was also an additional COVID-19 death, a 50-year-old woman of New Providence who died on August 7th. Sands said that the virus is not just affecting the elderly and people with comorbidities.
We have had more than 125 pregnant women present to hospitals COVID positive. A number of them, more than 5 of them, have died. We have seen children less than 18 critically ill, fighting for their lives from COVID. We've seen people in their 20s die from COVID in the Bahamas. And so what used to be a disease of older people or people with comorbidities, and I believe this is the Delta impact, Delta variant impact, we are seeing young people, so-called healthy people now, stricken by this COVID. And we don't see the end of this anytime soon.
Even as more vaccine options like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson become available in country, Sands fears that conspiracy theories and the politicalization of the pandemic may contribute to vaccine hesitancy.
The vaccine is perceived as, depending on who you listen to, either a panacea or it is the work of the devil. And it seems as if those two factions can never meet. And so you listen to one person and they're saying, oh, they're trying to sterilize black people and brown people, and they're trying to put microchips in your arm so they can follow where you're going. Or that it's the mark of the beast. Or I could go on and on and on. That Bill Gates and George Soros, and they trying to do all kind of things to you. This isn't a real vaccine. I could recite the conspiracy theories. But that misinformation, that disinformation is being promulgated throughout the internet and social media, and Bahamians are eating it and drinking it and sleeping it.
Well, Doctors Hospital CEO Dr. Charles Diggas stressing the need for more COVID-19 testing amid a surge of COVID-19 cases. He insisted that it is the only way to find out who is infected with the virus.
Testing should not and cannot be diminished, because it's only through aggressive and focused testing that we know where the virus is and who or whom have the virus. The prevention and the mitigation of exposure remain so important, regardless of your vaccination status.
On Thursday, the Bahamas recorded 131 cases of COVID-19, bringing the total number of cases to 16,272, with 312 deaths. Addressing the Eleuthera business outlook, Dr. Diggas said, now isn't the time to be mixing socially with people outside of your home. He stressed that vaccinations, testing, and safety protocols must continue.
Vaccinate, anticipate revaccinations and boosters, but be mindful of the role of testing. Continue to mitigate. Mask, especially masking indoors. Maintain your physical distancing practice. Unfortunately, despite the fatigue.
Well, when our News Weekend comes back from the break, a Grand Bahama makeup artist building her beauty empire, plus tracing the origins of Junkanoo. We have the details when our News Weekend returns.
The great True Bahamian treasure hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow our TV originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch our news Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week, because the contest runs all summer long. Go to our TV originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
You're watching our News Weekend. Thanks for staying with us. An historian recently traveled to Ghana to investigate the origins of Junkanoo. His findings clarify many misconceptions, and it will all be featured in 2 books currently in the works. Our Jared Higgs has his story.
Many people know the name Junkanoo and consider it the source of the name Junkanoo. But who is Junkanoo? Historian Christopher Davis set off to Ghana to find out more.
And he was actually not a slave trader, but he was a warrior and a prince from an area known today as Ahanta West region in Ghana. And you know, we always got this narrative that the British gave us this parade and the British did this and the British did that. And we kind of lost translation of what we were actually celebrating.
All over the region, there are different carnivals and Junkanoo celebrations that Davis says have their origins in Africa. Junkanoo or John Kwao. Over in Ghana, they have a celebration known as the Fancy Dress Festival. And you guessed it.
When I do lessons with kids, I show them all pictures of the Fancy Dress Festival, and I ask them which one is Junkanoo. And they pointing at these ones, but all are actually of the Fancy Dress Festival, and that's how similar it is.
Davis and his fiancée were moved by their trip to Ghana, which took them through several historic cities and sites. He also learned many lessons while embarking on his research. Though the Bahamas has one of the most sophisticated Junkanoo festivals in the Caribbean, the festival is shared among Africans. He says the connections reveal themselves in many ways.
When I looked at places like Jamaica, Guyana, Suriname, of course, they all have their Belize. They all have their different commemorations of Junkanoo, right? In some way, shape, or form, Belize has a plate. Furthermore, though, when you look at the national heroes, if you will, of these nations, of course, Jamaica has some of the most famous ones, Queen Nanny and Captain Cujo. Captain Cujo founded a town that's known today as Trelawney Town. And that's actually where Lyndon Oscar Pinlin's father came from. So you see how this Akan revolutionary spirit.
Davis says he had to search the history books to find the Bahamas' revolutionary hero. He says that hero, Kwamina, has been relegated to a footnote. He points out that the origin of Junkanoo is steeped in Africa and the Caribbean's own struggles against slavery and European colonialism.
Junkanoo actually represents a move of defiance against these absolutely brutal colonial systems that have also been lost in translation in contemporary Bahamian history.
Davis is working on 2 books where he will detail his research on the origins of Junkanoo. He tells us in his own words why the work he does is important.
History is our most unifying force. We all know that we have issues with unity and things that in our nation can be very polarizing at times, especially politics, but history is the one thing that unifies all people, and that's why it's so important. And then it helps you to behave differently towards one another. And when people are immersed in their history, they realize that they all share one common destiny. And then that individualistic mindset kind of goes on the side. And the mindset of Ubuntu, Swahili word, just essentially meaning communal living. Each one give to the other one so that the other one, we all have a good quality of life in a nutshell, And so all of that is extremely important.
Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jared Higgs.
Well, bringing affordable quality cosmetics to the Bahamas is the goal of a Grand Bahama business owner who says her new skincare and makeup line was specifically crafted for Bahamian weather. Our Jillian Gray has that.
From lipstick and foundation to beard balm and oil, one Grand Bahama makeup artist is carving out a niche for herself in the cosmetic and skincare industry.
The reason why I came out with the moisturizer for men and women because a lot of people do not moisturize their skin. And people do not understand how important it is to moisturize the skin. And the moisturizer that I came up with has vitamin C, which helps with hyperpigmentation, rejuvenating the skin, and it also has sunscreen built into the moisturizer because a lot of us do not like to wear sunscreen, and that is also a very important factor.
Thyra Johnson has been applying makeup for over 15 years and formed her cosmetic line True Beauty Cosmetics after finding it hard to acquire affordable products suited to her clients' skin tone and needs. It wasn't easy launching the line, as the Grand Bahama native said sampling products to mix the right formula was time-consuming and expensive. But she said she had to ensure the cosmetic line was right for our climate.
When I test my formulas, I always try to keep in mind our climate. Because initially I want to use my products as well. And so when I use my products, I don't want to go to a beach party and come out of the water and my eyebrow, my face, everything is draining down. So if I don't want that, I know the next female doesn't want it either. So I try to keep that in mind.
The new line of over 15 products boasts eyelashes, brushes, and foundations that Johnson says are compact and perfect for hyperpigmentation, rosacea, or skin discoloration. With more and more traffic coming to her website, her biggest challenge now is shipping to international clients.
But it's not very affordable. No one's going to spend $18 for a lipstick and $60 to ship it to them. So even using the post office is not a very good option currently, seeing as how a lot of our post offices are not fully functioning, and it's almost just as expensive. There's also no way to physically track the product.
She's working on a satellite office abroad to solve that problem and is encouraging other small business owners not to be afraid to expand and grow to reach international markets. Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, still to come on Our News Weekend, we count down the most memorable moments of the week. Stay with us.
The great True True Bahamian treasure hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow our TV originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch our news Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week because the contest runs all summer long. Go to our TV originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
Well, now it's time to recap some of the most memorable quotes and moments in news this week. The first quote comes from residents who endured long lines this week, hoping to get the jab as COVID-19 cases continue to surge here in country.
I'm sorry I didn't foresee this earlier.
Yeah, you would have had it.
I would have been vaccinated.
Earlier the better. I didn't know it was this much people, but this is the slowest I've seen it because when we got the first shot, it went very quickly.
Right.
Yeah, but now, I don't know why, but it's extremely slow.
Well, in at number 2 is this heartbreaking moment as family members and residents of Cocoa Plum Street reacted to the devastating house fire last Sunday.
Just heard screams and everybody was just, it was just heartbreaking, man. I don't know, I don't know. It still feels like a dream. Those kids were darlings. If you see me driving up in the yard, the little girl, she would run, grab the baby. You know, they were just sweetie pies. They were sweet children. You could send the girl 1,000 times. Yes, mom. Yes, mom. The little boy, just sweet little children.
And undoubtedly one of the greatest highlights in news this week was welcoming home Bahamian Olympic champions Stephen Gardner and Shawnee Miller-Weibo. They claim this quote of the week.
Final 50 meters, I'm looking at the big screen to the finish line. I saw I was out there, so I just kept it moving and kept it going, and once I crossed the line, I was just ready to in tears, but I held my emotions back.
Ah, it feels great to finally be. Yeah, it's a great feeling to have Stephen up there with me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Stay safe, Bahamas.